Local media is reporting that citizens of Big Spring, Texas have seen helicopters and tanks moving into their town. This comes just a month after Thomas Meade spoke to the Big Spring City Council asking for their invitation. And following the 30-minute presentation on Jade Helm, resident Kimberly York had the courage to confront them with some pretty tough comments and questions.
Kimberly York, and I actually am one of the county residents, and I'm a little distressed with the fact, A, the county issued an invitation without letting the citizens know that it's going on in the county. I think that we should have been informed. I feel like it's being hidden from us about, and then all of a sudden an invitation's issued and it's on us. And I'm a little bit concerned about that. I think as citizens we have the right. I also am a hospice nurse. I have a lot of concerns about our elderly population in this county and in this city by things that are going on and being distressed. It may double our phone calls for home healths and hospices because we will be the first persons they call and get distressed. What the press is putting out is really different than what we're seeing here today. The press is telling us, oh, you're not going to hear about it, you're not going to see it, it's just not going to affect your lives. Well, what we're reading here is that it might affect our lives. And I think as citizens of this county, we should have a voice in whether that invitation is issued. I've got some real concerns. There's safeties for civilians. Why are we looking at safety issues if there's nothing to see here right now? By the way, I am a military brat. I do support the military. I feel that there's other ways of training than inflicting it on the citizens of this county.
Now, she felt the groundwork had already been laid. Then the military contractor simply came in.
Has announced that that they released Osama bin Laden's personal library, and they are saying that some of the books that were coming out of his library, one of them being your book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. So what do you make of this recent bizarre propaganda campaign coming from the CIA suggesting that Osama bin Laden was reading one of your books?
It does throw someone for a loop. The reason why is back in May of 2011, they announced that they had gone in and shot Osama bin Laden in the head and dumped his body in the ocean. But the thing was, in the Middle East, it was commonly known that he had already died. And over here in the United States, there were people that had credibility that were saying that Osama bin Laden was actually being created by a double that was imitating him. And this document here, Tim Osman is recorded in this document, intelligence document that's been redacted, and people were saying that he was actually playing the role. So if that's the case, and the evidence seems to fall on that explanation, then this whole thing about them grabbing many duffel bags full of Osama bin Laden's thumb drives, hundreds of thumb drives and all these papers and books, that would just be something then that was also fictitious, not notional,
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, then it begs the question, why are they now coming out with this? And of course, we've got this extensive exercise, Jade Helm 15, which is totally designed for martial law in the United States. They are pretending that it has to do with troop deployments overseas. But the exercises which they're saying they're doing because they need realistic training, they're not training on Arab-style houses. They're training on American-style houses. They're training to go in and round up Americans and in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. Arrest Americans. These are the things that they're training on. And also there's some other adjunct aspects of Jade Helm 15, which they're going to be monitoring the entire population of Americans. And so the intelligence agencies and the local police are involved in this, and one of the goals that they had was to practice working with local officials. They contacted hundreds of these local officials and asked them to write letters or emails requesting them to come into their area. So it's given them a lot of practice, but this kind of practice has nothing to do with going overseas.
Right.
And so one has to wonder, is this announcement of a few conspiracy books like mine being in Osama bin Laden's supposed library, does this connect?
That's right. Question is, why are they bringing up this now and trying to rope in the conspiracy theorists, if you want to call it, types of books? I mean, the list that they announced reads like a who's who of your classic collection of books that people really ought to be reading. Books that I have in my own collection, your book, John Coleman's books, many others. So, you know, it's like they're trying to rope in this concept of conspiracy theorists being the danger that you have to look out for. And as you said, this is going on at the same time as Jade Helm. Very, very interesting that they're bringing this up now. I mean, why would they be roping in yourself, myself, people who are into this with Osama bin Laden once again?
All right. My reaction to the CBS News reporter that wanted a statement from me was to simply ask the question, why is this being done now? And anybody who's interested in understanding who the important decision makers are in the United States would want to read my Bloodlines of the Illuminati book. For instance, there is a genealogy chart in there which shows how 25 American presidents are closely related. And you know, it's kind of interesting. I came out with that chart several years before this teenage girl supposedly connected the dots and connected some presidents. She did she came up with a chart that it was even less detailed than mine, and she became nationally famous. That was several years after mine was out. You'll notice that if someone like me does something like that, they just ignore it and they call you a theorist.
Now, before we get into the meat of the drill, let's talk about the potatoes. The military is enticing the invitations from the communities, stating that this 2-month drill will spur the local economies.
For example, food. If my team says I need 50 pounds of potatoes, I'm not bringing those potatoes from Fort Bragg. I'm not bringing those from North Carolina. My guys will go to the grocery store, they'll purchase 50 pounds of potatoes, and then they will be appropriately put in an item or in a location to be recovered by the training unit. So we're going to buy those things here.
Yes, you heard him correctly, a 50-pound bag of potato. That costs about $10 US at your local. And that, my friends, is the value being placed upon you, opening up your homes, your properties, your businesses, and your streets to this military exercise. Now, this guy certainly doesn't mind as long as his Walmart doesn't close and he doesn't miss the next rerun of How I Met Your Mother.